Hello everybody, hope you're all having a fantastic day. The title of this video is Cinderella and the Mount of Monte Cristo, Archetypes of your Twin Flame Journey into Divine Love. The Buddha said that the truth cannot long be hidden like the sun and the moon. You'll pass the test if you choose presence. Can you remain present in the presence of stress? How able are you to remain present amidst challenge, and can you remain in a state of peace? Can you remain in the present moment, the now, and direct it to your feelings? It requires the power of your will and surrender. When you surrender into the present moment, from that silence comes the delicate sweetness of the Divine's love for you. Perfect, total peace, totality, eternity. From there, the Divine speaks of her love for you like delicate flowers flowing over your soul. A little wink so as to not be overwhelmed. Love the Divine from that pure, innocent place, that pure, innocent, perfect part of you, and you experience a new dimension of divinity within you. With the music of heaven coming through, deepening your relationship with the Divine so you can co-create together. All this indicates that the collective is moving even deeper into dependency on the Divine, not just receiving what's already been given, but receiving something new. It should show where you're at and what you're working through. There is so much depth to this experience, so much meaning, so many implications. You're being guided to go deeper. Just move this a little bit. There's already a really dramatic transformation happening right now into higher simplicity, which at the same time is infinitely complex. It's very powerful and transcendental. That's the difference when you invite God in. Don't worry if you don't feel like you're there yet. Just because someone's working on their relationship with God, just because that's a work in progress, it doesn't mean that they're unworthy or an idiot or anything like that. To be a work in progress is perfect. It doesn't make anyone imperfect to be reaching for something higher. It's perfectly okay to be learning. The Divine is working to earn our expansion. You only need to proceed with something with the Divine directs. You must show up for her. But it won't get done until the Divine says. You can be grinding away at something, and then when God shows up, it's transcendental. The grinding is preparing the way to God. You work so hard and do the spiritual work every day to prepare the way for the Divine, and we prepare ourselves for the Divine. The Divine is patiently waiting for us to make way for her. Keep moving in that direction of transformation that the Divine has directed us into. Show up for the spiritual work. Do your part so that the Divine can do hers. The only effort you actually have to put in is the spiritual work. Sit with it, work on the inner, just show up and chip away at it, and only then can a new result arise. The Divine's vision for me is my desire, and I will too have that. These things that she's guiding me towards. All I have to do is chip away at the inner every day. Okay, now I want to talk about the Count of Monte Cristo. He was like a male Cinderella. He was in a ship with his friend Ferrand, who was of royal birth and had a family fortune. The Count was beneath Ferrand, but he was really brave and he worked really hard, and he got promoted above Ferrand, who was insanely jealous and had the Count thrown into jail for 13 years and took his wife and all is good. And the Count, of course, had massive amounts of anger and frustration, but his prison cell was like a meditation room, and over the next 5 years, he worked through his anger and his rage. He got beaten up by the jailer, even though the jailer knew he was innocent. He had to go through these awful trials, but God had a plan for him to be successful. After the 5 years, the floor of his cell suddenly collapses and a monk comes in through the floor. The monk had been in a neighbouring cell and had tried to escape by digging a tunnel, but had tunnelled into the Count's cell by mistake. But now he was here. They worked on the tunnel together, and the monk taught the Count to read and write and fight. The Count had got rid of all his rage, and now he was able to begin his gentleman's education. It's like the priest had given him a map to his future. This is the formula for coming into the one zone. The Count didn't have to do anything but show up and work through what was in front of him. All was seemingly taken away from him, but it was all part of his training. The time he was in his cell, he may as well have been lost at sea. Lost at sea before he could return to his woman. He needed these experiences to purify his consciousness. He eventually did escape and became richer than any other man. He bought a palace, took out his enemies, found his woman and reclaimed his son. Trials and struggles prepare us. They're there to be worked through. The divine uses them to purify us for the life we're meant to live. And going on to Cinderella, when the wicked stepmother came in, Cinderella was effectively turned into a slave and made to do miserable work, even though she was the supposed heiress. But the stepmother was actually serving her because Cinderella, prior to then, had been a little bit soft. When the queen has to be of high service to the realm, it's a fucking job. It takes work to build a kingdom. Cinderella was taught to serve by the stepmother. If there was anything imperfect, the stepmother would immediately be on her ass to say that the stepmother was a bitch is a weak mentality. When it was time to go to the ball, Cinderella had made a dress on top of her chores and the ugly sisters tore it up. Ha ha, I kept my rival down. And then the fairy godmother appears and she says, be home by midnight. Hold your status high. The prince was enraptured by her beauty, her divinity, her innocence and humility that she had cultivated during her time with the stepmother. The tragedy of the story isn't Cinderella's time with the stepmother, but the stepmother herself. She was a widowed countess who remarried, but she never allowed herself to love again. She could have become Queen Mother if she disciplined Cinderella with love, but instead she abused her. Cinderella wasn't harmed. The stepmother was the reason she became so disciplined and be able to attract the eye of the prince. The king had told the prince that he needed a wife worthy to lead the kingdom, but the prince had been disheartened. He was also pure of heart. None of the princesses that he met were right for him, and God all along had been preparing his perfect woman. God needs for you to prepare yourself for what's to come. And what's to come is what he brings you. The prince had to hold his value high and hold out for what was right. The stepmother was evil to herself. She leached off Cinderella when she could have been loving her. When we refuse love, we're harming ourselves. Even though the anger and hatred may appear powerful, it's an illusion because the only power is love. Love is the only thing that keeps you going. It continues to grow because there's love there. Separation is a delusion. The kingdom is here. You've always been a part of it. You're one with the divine. Cinderella is not a victim. Maybe she wasn't abused after all. It was inevitably her training. The tragedy is the stepmother and the ugly sisters. When she became queen, she'd actually done very little to earn an absolutely stupendous amount, just like harmonious twin flame union. It may feel like a fucking lot at the time, like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? I'm not asking for much, God. Hold my beer, said God. Watch this. You know, it may feel like a grinding away for years sometimes, but once you get there, it's like you ask for 2 grains of sand to rub together and you get the whole of Chesil Beach. The story indicates an even deeper spiritual truth. Unjust evil caused Cinderella an undue amount of pressure. God caused the wickedness to uplift his son. The stepmother could have become humble and atoned, but instead she was cast out into hell. This is Judgment Day. It's a beautiful thing. You want it. And if you don't get through, you can atone at any time. Climb out of the hole, learn the lesson. I fucked up, I choose to be with God now. And this is what you have to overcome. Strength and purification comes from challenges. Cinderella made a wonderful queen. Was it the kindest in history? No one wants a cruel queen. Like the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland. There's a spiritual protocol, a dharma, loving kindness, compassion, discipline, focus and direction. It prevents tyranny. We can relate. All we have to do is work through what's in front of us. God guides you to your proper place. No one could keep Cinderella or Monte Cristo down. This is inspiration for your own spiritual journey and where you yourself are heading. Okay, and so moving on to the next piece, unconditional commitment, which is an essential component of harmonious twin flame union. If your twin flame is currently moving through abandonment, they may not expect your unconditional commitment, but that's necessary to help them through their own challenges. Old wounds surfacing that they may have been unaware of. You're good to them to be helping them through it. Unconditional commitment, clearing the silly illusion. You're one being, you're equal to each other, you're a team. The inner work pays. Recognise your unconditional commitment between you and your twin flame. Claim just that truth. The divine created everything for you and loves you with all of her being. She'll always bring you what you need, if not always what you want. Choose to love the divine. Relax into what the divine is bringing you and know that it's perfect. Go deeper into this relationship and accept what the divine has for you and show up and give it in kind. As you bring in calm and peace, in spite of all the noise, you'll experience deep peace. And let go of the fear. Are you noticing that you're afraid of something? Are you afraid of being loved? Let the divine show you your twin flame and your life on earth of riches and success and so much in store for you. All of it comes from the divine's love for you. It's safe to accept the divine's love for you. You want your twin flame. You want wealth, you want a beautiful life, but it comes from God's love first. God guides you to this place and he guides you to the place where something still feels a little bit off, which is the reason that this perfect life is elusive to an extent. Is there a fear of the divine's love? Just resolve it at the root, like Cinderella. You can be queen or king by tomorrow. It can be a fast transition, like holy shit, I'm at the ball. If you have any melancholy feelings, ask yourself, is God melancholy? No, he's not. He's safe, he's fruitful and colourful, and God is also awareness. The divine is bringing you awareness about any sadness that you may be feeling at this time. Not because the divine is sadness, but awareness is being brought to you there for you to clear it, for you to clear any sadness. First, you must acknowledge you feel this or that way, and then you can do something about it. It's safe to trust divine guidance. Are you afraid that if you're not controlling, you may miss something? It's so silly to have this fear, but it's a silly fear. The truth is always safe with the divine. Trust the good feeling. It's the fear that causes you to miss out. Excuse me. The divine will always match you on the other side of the challenging moment. You can slow your progress down by avoiding feelings. How do you expedite your experience? By feeling through what must be felt through. You know what to do. God is telling you where you are weak, where you're not close to him. You already know the answer. How do you get closer to him? God will give you the answer you truly desire. And that's how you get closer. Just listen for the answer. Become a horrible addict of the divine. Be completely fixated on the divine all day long and nothing else. That's what all the yogis become. Let your devotion be mechanical. How do you get closer in a relationship? Purification of the self. How do you stay close? By cultivating a closer relationship with the divine creator. Hurrah! Okay, everybody, I'm going to end this message here. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.